Inside Huntsville with Brenda Martin, a conversation with department heads at City Hall on streets, ball fields, public safety, and more. And also with our community partners that add economic security, support education, and enhance the city's quality of life.
Hello, I'm Brenda Martin with Inside Huntsville, and thanks for joining me today. We are on site for the 35th Annual Panoply Arts Festival right here in Big Spring Park. I might add, the renovated Big Spring Park, and it is absolutely beautiful. There are a lot of artists here. In fact, 1,400, I understand. We're going to walk around and talk with some of them. Come along with us.
We just opened the gates and our festival goers are making their way to the 35th Panoply, and we couldn't be happier because we are here in the beautiful new Big Spring Park, and we are just thrilled.
What do you think about this park? Isn't it beautiful?
It is gorgeous. You know, it's very familiar, but at the same time, it is so beautiful. Now you can walk right along the water, and it is so beautiful. We've gotten so many compliments from our artists who, as they've loaded in, and all of the volunteers. We've been in the park every day this week, and everyone is just so thrilled with the park.
And of course, you couldn't do this without your volunteers. Talk about them.
Absolutely. You know, we have over 1,500 volunteer shifts just this weekend over the course of these 3 days. And that doesn't even count over 100 committee chairs who work on this for over 6 months. So there are thousands of volunteer hours that go into this festival. This is a community event, and it really showcases what the greater Huntsville metro region is all about. It just celebrates art, music, and more, and our great volunteer spirit and our great community.
The Unity Project is something new here at Panoply. It's an interactive public art project that examines how labels both help and hinder our ability to come together as a nation and as a human race. With Huntsville being a multicultural community, what better place to have such a unity project?
Huntsville is really, I think, a great community to bolster a sense of unity. I think we've got pockets of Huntsvillians that don't necessarily get to interact and talk with each other, and I thought this was a great opportunity to get the conversation rolling and open up a dialogue with things that aren't normally spoken about in everyday life.
Well, now, Keith, have you seen this done elsewhere?
I have, yeah. It was started in North Carolina by a woman named Nancy Belmont, who was kind of driven by the negative political rhetoric in the nation. And it's really just, it's a wonderful growth opportunity for any community, I think. So bringing it to Huntsville just seemed natural, and everyone's been so supportive.
Kenny, these are identifiers, as you call them. Talk to us about it.
Sure. Part of the Unity Project is to help people understand that these intersections in our lives are relatively common. Ways in which we actually can relate to one another on a daily basis, but may not be able to see that on the surface.
Okay.
So these are kind of like underground types of experiences or subtle internal things that we experience that we don't necessarily wear in our t-shirts or talk to people about on a daily basis.
Yes.
So you have one here, it says identify as LGBTQ.
Yes.
And this is an opportunity for somebody to identify as that. The next one says identify as straight. So you have two different sexual identities, sexual orientations,
yes,
ways in which people may identify with themselves that people would not necessarily see on the surface.
Okay. And here's another that says, I am a gun rights supporter.
That's right. And then another one that says, I'm a gun control supporter.
Ah.
These are two hot button issues in society today. They're Second Amendment issues, but certainly people have opinions about them. You have people that stand on either side of that question. This is just, again, an opportunity to, number one, affirm the value of individuals who believe differently than others, and also say that because we may believe differently does not mean that we have to have a difference of opinion or be disagreeable in that process.
Agree to disagree.
You can agree to disagree,
Okay.
and that's a common ground that people can stand on and respect one another.
Exactly.
Right.
You are holding a wad of yarn.
Big wad of yarn, that's right. And this yarn is actually, this beautiful color too, is something that the people will actually take and starting from the center of this circle and actually begin connecting with their identifier. So prior to actually using the yarn, people will actually begin saying, well, here are about 5 to 8 things perhaps that I identify with. They'll find those identifiers, they'll strap the yarn around the pole, and then they'll tie it off at the end. And at the end of the process, hopefully we'll have had hundreds, perhaps maybe even a couple of thousand people that do this, and we'll see exactly that our world is really a lot more connected than divided.
How did you get involved in this project, Kenny?
So just a citizen, and this is the beauty of this type of thing. Keithe back at Eaton came to me and said, I've got an idea and I want to see if we can do this in the city of Huntsville. And because I'm a one-person department, it's always hard to do everything that people want you to do. But because she was willing to come alongside me, we agreed to work together, find additional resources to make it happen, and together we were able to bring this thing about to Panoply. With a big shout out to Turner Construction, who provided all the supplies and labor for this.
I think I put glue right here.
We have many artists here at Panoply this year. They come from as far as North Carolina, Chicago, and even Las Vegas. We're here with Alice Hawks with Fine Art Photography from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, welcome to Huntsville. We're so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. I am so pleased to be here. It's such a lovely evening.
Is this your first time with us?
Yes, my first Panoply. I'm very excited.
And how did you find out about Panoply?
Doing searches for festivals that were in close proximity to the Atlanta area.
Well, tell us about your work.
I'm a fine art photographer. I enjoy outdoors, particularly landscapes, sunsets, sunrises, as well as wildlife.
Okay, well, let's look at some of your work.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Alice, how long have you been doing photography?
Well, I've always enjoyed doing photography. As a child, I enjoyed doing it. I worked in corporate America for over 20 years and was drawn to actually quit my job, move to Costa Rica to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Oh my!
And decided photography was it.
Well, how difficult was that to make that transition?
I think when you get to the point where you feel that you want to live or die, you have to make drastic changes, and that was the point that I was at. So I had to make drastic changes in my life.
Well, you obviously had the skill, though, this talent.
Well, it's a developing journey. This is a journey of life for me. I enjoy doing it, but each year I improve, I study, I watch, I read, and I feel that I'm getting better and better as the time goes on.
And you're from Atlanta, Georgia?
I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Holland.
From Holland?
The Netherlands, yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Well, tell me about your art.
Well, I got into my main business is I have a travel business, and my passion is traveling and photography, so I combined the both. So I take people on great vacations, and then I teach them some photography while we're out, and I go to locations that I absolutely love to take pictures of. So that's some of my art here. The Northern Lights in Iceland.
Let's talk about some of your art. Now, this picture here.
That picture I took about 4 weeks ago up in the Arctic Circle in Norway. 69 degrees north, so it was snowing. This is all snow, and then you can see the white beach and the water, and then it was terrible weather and these massive mountains in Norway. So I tend to go to the Arctic a lot.
Well, this picture down here is quite interesting.
That is actually a picture of the Georgia Guidestones outside of Alberton, Georgia.
And I see you take some interesting pictures of cars. Tell us about that.
Well, I love old cars. To me, it's all part of traveling, and I am intrigued by anything abandoned buildings, by old cars, because to me it has like a story behind it. And I never title my work, because I feel the person that is interested in the picture, they need to give it their own title, and it needs to speak to them. So these are from different locations in Georgia. This was out in Arizona or California, I think, in Ludlow. What I love here is like the linoleum.
I noticed
their kitchen floor was probably the same.
I have watercolor paintings, and like my originals are the ones that are in the frame, or they're mounted to like a wood cradle, or I actually also paint directly on wood as well. I prime it with watercolor ground, and then I just put my watercolor right on to the wood.
So how long have you been doing this?
I have been painting for a good number of years. I mean, I started like when I was a little girl, and I just kind of continued on with that till now. Like I never grew up, so.
Oh, that's great. But listen, so how did you decide to come back to Panoply?
I love love Huntsville, so like it's a great excuse to like see my friends and just like visit with people. But I also loved Panoply. Like I attended Panoply for a number of years while I lived here, and it was a great event. And I love supporting Huntsville, the Huntsville arts community. So it's really a pleasure to be here.
I understand this is your first time. Well, how do you like us?
I like it. I think it's a great site, a great show. I like the quality of the work, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, talk about work. Tell us about your work.
This is what we call Tattoo Dreams, which was surprisingly the name we coined it after we completed the first box, which began as an urn for a friend that had lost their pet. So I built all the boxes first, mostly out of cherry wood. Then my wife hand stamps all of these designs on there with black paint and rubber stamps. We create a theme. We have different concepts of peace, spirituality, love, art, music. It's just been a very good extension, and because we like the look of that paint on the wood, Tattoo Dreams is the name, and it's stuck.
And that's stuck. Let's look at some of your work
Sure.
here. Talk to us about some of your work.
Well, these are some of the bigger boxes that we do. I cut out all of the knobs, mostly out of cherry wood, or maple wood for this one, for the nice contrast. On the inside of each box, there's a little bit more that completes the whole theme, oftentimes a quote.
Yes.
We do a velvet lining on the inside of each one. And to extend the whole concept of phrase and image, we do these little house blessings. And then behind you are stellar pieces that we call our good karma bead strings.
And that's what I want you to tell us more about.
Okay, well, that too, we subscribe to the philosophy of waste nothing. So our entire bit of our studio operation utilizes every bit of the wood. So any piece that's too small for me to make another box, I set that aside. I cut out all of these shapes. Once again, she will hand stamp the design on there. I will cut it, shape it, drill it, send it back to her. So we go back and forth in the studio several times. And then at that point, she composes each strand based on a central theme, such as like this one, harmony.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, heal, peace. They're sized to fit a door frame, much like a beaded curtain, which is how I like to display them. Most people buy one or two, put them on a hook, either from the ceiling or on the wall. And it's one of our better selling items. We just absolutely love doing them.
I was going to ask you exactly how would you use that.
Most people will just connect with one or two, perhaps three elements on a given strand, and that's it. They just can't live without it. So they take it home, and sometimes they'll just add to their collection. We've had some customers come back and buy some from us every year, to the point where they have, I think, about 10 hanging in their door frame right now.
So what made you come to Huntsville?
Well, I do art shows all around the country. My wife and I have been doing this for about 30 years.
Oh my.
It's been a long time, and I've never been here. And a good friend of mine said, well, let's go try that. And so here we are.
And how do you like it?
Love it.
We're here with Lori Airy of URSA Creations. Hi.
Hi.
We're so glad to have you here. Of course, I understand that you once lived here in Huntsville, in the Alabama area, and you now live in North Carolina?
I do. I live in, I moved to Charlotte about a year ago.
And so, when you were here, Lori, I understand that you were at Low Mill. Tell us about that experience.
I was. I guess one of the directors at Low Mill, I've known her for several years, and after I finished my MFA, I decided that I wanted to have a studio spot at Low Mill, and it's a juried process, and I was actually very nervous. I wasn't sure if I was going to get in or not, but I got in, and I got a studio space up there, and it was the best thing that I did for my business, really, because having a studio space there really gave me a lot of exposure to the community, and I was able to have open studio hours where people could come and watch me work, and I feel like that that really draws people in when they see your process and everything, and they definitely liked that. And I got to participate in a lot of events that Low Mill had, and that kind of helped me get my business out there, and it really helped me grow to the point to where I could come to Panoply. And actually the reason why I'm here this year is because I was at Panoply last year. I was invited to be part of Arts in Action, and the people that do Arts in Action actually found me at Low Mill and said, oh my gosh, we love this, we need you to come to Panoply. And I said, great, I would love to.
And speaking about your artwork, tell us about it.
Well, so my bachelor's degree was in printmaking, and my master's degree is in textile design. And I really loved printing on fabric, and a lot of my artwork, I would print my grandmother's recipes, because a lot of my artwork was about my grandmother. So I would print her recipes in her handwriting on the fabric that I would use, and then I decided that I wanted to make something special for some of my family members, and I decided to print her recipes with some images that made me think of her on some towels, and I gave them to my family members, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. Can I get more from you so that I can give these to more of our family members?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely."
And you have an example of that. Let's show that.
Is one, oops, my spoon fell down. So this one right here, so it'll be like her her recipe for Butterfinger cake.
Oh, I bet that's good.
Yeah, it's very good. And then like green bean casserole, and she's got one that's actually very, very delicious. It's called the Girdle Buster. It doesn't happen to be on this towel, but.
So there's recipes on both sides.
Yeah, so when you open it up, it's actually a fairly big towel. It's about like 28 by 28.
Sure.
So,
okay.
And so I started doing that for my family members, and then I had other people say, "Well, I know that these are your grandmother's recipes. Could you, if I sent you my mother's recipe, could you put her recipes on some towels for me?" I said, "Absolutely. It's the same thing that I'm doing right now." And so that's when I kind of decided, or that's when I realized that this was something that people were really excited about, was kind of, you know, putting these like really sentimental family recipes on towels and then sharing them with the family, because sometimes if it's your grandmother or your great-grandmother's recipe, there's only one copy, and everybody wants it because it's so special to them.
It's a wild and open world.
Another successful Panoply of the Arts, the 35th in fact. We were able to cover the new Unity project and to talk to many of the artists who came from near and far. We hope you enjoyed our show today. We enjoyed bringing it to you. I'm Brenda Martin for Inside Huntsville and Arts Huntsville. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.